I want us to talk about this distinction that you make, and I like your choice of words, a value-adding partner. Because one would argue that the converse of that, which we've seen a lot of in the South African experience, has been of joint ventures of special purpose vehicles that have often happened without many of the black shareholders having an operational involvement in the business. And you say, having started out in 2002, right up to now in 2019, in many ways you've lived through many of the different phases and the valleys of the BEE cycle. Talk to me about what has changed in the psyche of the other people on the other side of the deal over that period of time. So what has happened in the mindsets, in the psyche, and in the approach of many established white businesses and how they interact with black businesses?
Let's look at the negative. Let's start with the negative. What has changed is that the spirit of Mandela is lost. People are no longer doing empowerment deals and entering into empowerment relationships because they recognize that South Africa ought to change. They're just ticking the boxes. I need an empowerment scorecard, ticking the box.
Sure.
The spirit of transforming society, the spirit of creating a better life for all South Africans, the spirit of transforming apartheid South Africa into an inclusive society is lost. People are begrudging empowerment. That's a big negative. I interact with a lot of people. They've forgotten that Mandela saved this country from wanton bloodshed. And it forced us into a paradigm where we agreed to share political power and create a bedrock, a base for transformation in the economy. People don't want to transform the economy. That's a big negative. We need to revisit the foundations of a transforming South Africa. On the positive side, people now recognize that those with political names don't really give you much value and benefit. They now want people who have got some value to add, basically because they've got a better understanding of what strategies need to be adopted for businesses to be able to compete, not only locally, but also internationally. They want people who can roll up their sleeves and get involved operationally. They want people who will have the time to go and sit in front of clients and argue a case for companies. And be able to talk sense on the detail rather than just saying, let me do the introduction, Mr. Van der Merwe will deal with the rest, because they're too technical. They want people who can roll up their sleeves and add the value. And they're now looking also at what is called more integrated transformation, where you have to look at enterprise development, you look at skills development, affirmative procurement, a really meaningful corporate social investment over and above ownership. That's a big plus in terms of how South Africa has evolved. So I'm very fortunate in that I entered the empowerment space during its elementary phase. And I've transitioned with it. And in the process, I've sharpened my knowledge.
Sure.
And I now understand what works and what does not work. And I've also created value for myself.
Sure.
So I count myself as blessed in that regard.
I want us to talk, because you started to mention it, the interface between the political and the world of business. And you rightfully note that in the early days, a lot of that was about how do I handpick or self-select that politically connected somebody who will be able to open the doors for me to government contracts and the like. And many of my own colleagues in the world of media have made quite a bit about your perceived connection as an individual to our former president, Jacob Zuma. And I want you to engage that slightly, but also let's engage that in the context of you being in many ways a representative voice of black business. Even before you were selected as the president of the Black Business Council, you were certainly seen as a distinguishable and a recognizable name in the world of black business. What comes with that responsibility?
Let's clarify this issue of political connectedness. When I came up to Johannesburg in 1992, I could not even, define my orientation. I got in through Harrow Road, and my brother was waiting for me at some shop. There was no mobile phones to tell me where he was in Berea, off Hillbrow. The people that I knew in Johannesburg, I could count fingers in my hand, including my relatives in Soweto. I knew nobody. So the fact that I'm fairly well known in Johannesburg, the fact that I know quite a lot of people, has been a painstaking process of connecting myself through the networks that I inherited and some that I created myself. It's been hard work, and I'm proud of it. I worked with Madiba in 1996, when Madiba went to 1997 rather, when Madiba went on a tour to the Far East. I accompanied him. And when we signed, when the ANC Youth League signed an agreement with the UMNO party in Malaysia, I was accompanying the leadership of the Youth League, and Madiba and Mahathir witnessed the signing thereof. And the rest that happened around that time, I was part of it. I worked with Madiba. When President Thabo Mbeki wanted someone to lead Dinel as a chairman, I was appointed as a chairman of Dinel. And I'm told, despite the protestations of some people, but President Mbeki insisted that's a person. And I think I did a good job. I never disappointed. When Kgalema Motlanthe took over as a president, albeit for an interim period, I continued on that path of working together. When Zuma came on board as a president, I continued. With the current president, Ramaphosa, I continue. And I will continue to work with the successor to President Ramaphosa. And I make no apologies about that. I will continue to have a relationship with whoever is occupying that office. Why? Because I've got value to add. I'm a very conscientious South African who wants the best for South Africa, who wants the best for South African people. And to the extent that I've defined myself as a figure around empowerment, it's because I believe in Black participation in the economy in a meaningful way, and I'll continue to do so.
Let's talk about that, because I think organizationally, if we think about the voices that represent Black business, a lot of them predate even the 1994 moment, or even predate our current understanding of broad-based Black economic empowerment. If you think about the Black Management Forum, formed in the 70s, and even the Black Business Council, which also has its roots deep in the world of Black enterprise. I'm quite interested in the kind of organization, when you were appointed as president, that you inherited. And also some of the fights that you may have inherited, because we do know that there have been some tensions between different voices of organized business around the strategy and around the key tasks that they felt were relevant for that point in time in our post-apartheid development project.
Let me tell you, the Black Business Council as an apex organization, people don't know that among its affiliates counts some of the most eminent brands in Black business. From time to time, some of those brands contest their relationship with the rest of people who fall under the umbrella of BBC. It is to be expected, because they themselves undergo some metamorphosis and contestations. We are tolerant of that. But as an apex organization, I'm very proud of my association with the Black Business Council. We've gone through tough times. When we came into office last year in August, we found a very sad state of the organization in terms of its financial standing, in terms of reputational standing. But as a president, I'm very loath to pointing fingers. I really am. except to say we have had to dig deep in our own hearts, dig deep in our own bowels to find the best energies to transition, to propel ourselves forward. Where we are now, it's a very happy space. We are financially very sound. We are single-minded as the leadership of the Black Business Council in terms of how we need to take the organization forward. There's a great deal of hegemony, harmony, and cohesion among the leadership of the Black Business Council in the National Council, even among affiliates in terms of their relationship with the organization, by a few exceptions. But we are very happy that we are now, for a change, very focused on becoming a real partner to our counterparts in business, to our counterparts among other social partners, be it government, labor, or organs of civil society. Because South Africa is stronger with a stronger voice of Black business. It is stronger with a stronger voice of organized business as a whole. And so we're a very important cog in that milieu.
Where are we in terms of that project of unity? And I want to maybe overlay that with a question of what your views are as the BBC on the functioning of NEDLAC as well as a body. We've heard at the AGM of NEDLAC on the part of Labour, the General Secretary of COSATU suggesting that all of the different social partners, in particular business, government and Labour, tend to send some of the most junior people to NEDLAC, which is a social dialogue platform with some consensus and key negotiations happen. What is the view of BBC on NEDLAC and in particular the project of unity with the likes of Business Unity South Africa and many others?
Maybe let me start with the latter. There was a time, beginning of this year, when we were on each other's throats.
Open letter.
Open letter and responses. It was a very unseemly moment for organized business. We have since, at the level of senior leadership of these two organizations, sat around the table and set up structures to ensure that we can work together, identified projects which we can champion together, including, very importantly, fighting corruption in the country and ensuring that growth in the economy is at the center of everything that happens, among other areas of commonality. So we are very committed to working with Musa in that regard. And I believe that commitment is also coming from their side. So we're very happy with that. We are leaders of organizations. We're not leaders of ourselves. So my commitment as a president of Black Business Council is to ensure that our organization or my organization play its role within that unified kind of platform. The idea of one organization instead of having Musa and BBC is not going to happen, not overnight. It takes quite a while to build the confidence, to build the trust, and to be absolutely sure that things that are of critical importance to us find resonance with our counterparts. Remember that we broke away from Musa not so long ago, but we recognize a need for a unified voice of business, and that need is not only espoused by myself, but it's espoused by pretty much everybody that you meet. Said, let business talk with one voice. The challenges that face sort of society are much bigger than black this and white that.